So what is the Data Import-Export Framework? The Data Import-Export Framework, also known as DIXF, is a comprehensive tool that allows you to import and export large amounts of data to and from AX into a variety of data sources. It leverages SQL Server integration services to enable you to perform data movement operations in a highly performant manner. The Data Import-Export Framework can be used for a variety of scenarios. For instance, you can use it to import entity data, export entity data, compare entity data across legal entities, and copy entity data across different Microsoft Dynamics AX environments. The Data Import-Export Framework is typically used for both one-time data management processes and continuous data management processes. It can be used for one-time data management processes such as data migration or copying data from legal entities across different environments. It can also be used for continuous data management processes where you need to move data from AX to a different system or vice versa. The Master Data Management Framework, which we will talk about later in this course, also leverages DIXF for continuously keeping master data in sync between various instances of AX. Before we go further, it is important to familiarize yourself with a few important concepts. First, let's recap what an entity is. If you remember from the previous module, we said an entity is an object that is a proxy for a real-world object. Examples of entities are customers, vendors, employees, products, sales orders, and so on. The Data Import-Export Framework deals with all import and export operations in terms of entities. For instance, you would import customers or export sales orders. Under the covers, the Data Import-Export Framework takes care of mapping these entities into one or more tables that might make up the entity. Next, we'll talk about the source. A source contains data that you need to move to the target. When you're importing data, the source can either be a file, an ODBC source, or even another instance of AX. Next, data formats define the type of format for your source data. In the case of files, data format could either be a delimited file, a fixed width file, an XML file, or even an Excel file. The Data Import-Export Framework uses a set of tables called the staging tables, which are intermediate tables when importing complex data. Data is first imported from the source system into a staging table, and then from the staging table to the target. The staging tables enable DIXF to support a number of advanced concepts, such as transformations and executing X++ business logic. The target is where you are moving the data to. When you import data from a file to an AX entity, data is first copied from the file to the staging table, and then from the staging table to the AX entity. The AX entity, in turn, might contain a number of tables that it is made up of. Finally, a processing group is a group of entities that are processed together. You can use a processing group to define which entities are processed, the sequence in which they are processed, and the source and destination of these entities along with mapping information. Processing groups can be scheduled either using a synchronous job or an asynchronous job using batch. With that, let's dig a little deeper into the architecture of the Data Import-Export Framework.